All right, guys, welcome to the Driven Not Given podcast. And this is actually the first guest that is on the podcast for a third time. He was on the podcast about a year and a half ago, almost a year and a half ago. Then we did a group podcast with entrepreneurs. You guys should check out that video, by the way. We're going to link it in the description. And it was CEOs, basically. You know what I mean? Just the cream of the crop entrepreneurs. Now we have him again because not only is he a very successful entrepreneur, but he's also a chiropractor. And he's a really good friend of mine. Just an absolute stud. Mr. Dr. Lewis, how you doing, brother?
I am wonderful. JC. You know, I'm sitting here, I'm driving over here, and I think we've known each other for over 20 years now.
Yeah.
And I just love to see people evolve. And you have evolved. You know, I've seen you evolve in your marriage, which is the most important thing, in your faith, in your business, you know, and I applaud you because it's very, very difficult. You know, people may look at you or may look at other people. You know, you have a lot of gifts. You know, you're suave at a lot of things, and people may think that things come easy, and you know that they don't.
No.
And you grind hardcore. Yes. You're probably working when everyone's asleep,
right?
And I just appreciate that. So thank you again. I was just sharing with them that if we do this every week, I'd be ecstatic.
Right, you were saying that. You were saying that. And you know what? That compliment means a lot coming from you, bro, because I respect you a lot, man. I mean, you've been a mentor from afar for me for a long time. You know, I remember one time somebody invited me to an event that you were having. I said, look, if this Dr. Lewis is going to be the speaker, yes, I'm there, 100%, right?
That's awesome.
So thank you so much. And I will say this as well. Before I was even married, I would look at you and your relationship with your wife and your kids, and I said, I want to be like that man one day because I see not only the beautiful relationship you have with your wife, but also your kids, bro. And you have 3 boys, right?
3 boys. Fabian is 22, Isaiah is 16, and Elijah is 14.
Wow.
Yeah, and they're amazing. My wife and I just celebrated, not just about, but we celebrated 25 years.
Nice.
And we went to Europe for the first time.
I saw that.
Yeah, it was a vacation of a lifetime, truly. My wife set it up. She does so many things great, and she set up these 14 days. It was our first time, and we flew into Paris, and we were there for 4 days. Then we flew to the Amalfi Coast and renewed our vows, and it was we couldn't have had a better 14 days. And then we went to Venice. So yes, my wife and I, 25 years, I have 3 boys. Everyone's happy, everyone's healthy, and everyone's progressing.
That's awesome. Well, you know, I'm following in your footsteps, man. not 25 years, but my wife and I have been married about 5 years, almost 5 years.
There you go.
And you have 3 boys. I got 2 boys.
There you go.
You know what I mean?
You have
I got the great Maximus.
Maximus,
right?
that's
Who's
right.
8?
8. He's 8 already.
He's 8.
That's just insane.
Yes.
I remember seeing him, and his hair was this long. Now it's like it's down here.
Right.
So you have Maximus.
And then we have Alexander the Great, who's 18 months.
That is so powerful.
Yeah, man. So my wife is an incredible mother, an incredible wife. I love her to death, and very blessed, man. I count my blessings every single day. I find myself sometimes throughout the day just stopping and thanking our Father for these blessings, until to see our children, and I'm like, wow.
Yes.
You know, so.
And you know, just to interject, I felt that way. You know, as I shared with you, I felt that way coming over here. You know, just every morning, I'd say 3 to 4 mornings a week, I take my boys to school. Drop off Isaiah at Damien High School because he has practice every morning, and then I drop off Elijah at Foothill. And before I leave, we trade every morning. So I'm with my son in my office every morning. Fabian wakes up about 4:30, 4:45 Monday through Friday.
Wow.
And he trades at 7:30. So I see him, and I get this interaction with him. And then on the way to school, I have an opportunity to talk to the boys and to share with the boys. And often we're listening.
Yeah.
We're listening to people, we're listening to philosophers. And I know that they may not fully understand it right now, but just like when I met my first mentor, it's just hearing these things over and over and over again. It's a beautiful thing. And I'm very grateful that my lifestyle allows that.
Yes.
You know, allows us to sow into our kids. My wife does the same thing. You know, whenever she's driving the boys around, she's just sowing into them. And I think that's just so critical right now.
Yes. Especially these crazy days.
Yeah.
It's always been, but yeah, there's so many similarities, right? This morning, our 18-year-old was a little bit under the weather. He had a slight fever, nothing major. So it was like 3:45 in the morning. So my wife gets up, and then my wife is a little bit under the weather as well. So I say, do you want me to make you a tea? Yeah, so I make her a tea while she's taking care of the baby. Then I said, do you need me for anything right now? I said, no, I got it. I said, well, look, I'm not going to sleep anymore because you guys are up.
Right.
I'm not going back to sleep, so let me go to the gym. So I get to the gym
4 o'clock in the morning. Then.
At 4:50, I arrive because I live in Downey, but I go to the UFC gym in La Mirada.
Okay.
So by the time I have my coffee, brush my teeth, get ready, I left around 4:30. It takes me 20 minutes to get there. And I work out. Then I get home and I take Maximus to school, and I'm sewing into him. Right?
Absolutely.
And one of the things I tell him all the time, every day that I drop him off, because I drop him off most of the time, and I pick him up half of the time. And I say to him, don't let nobody take your happiness, son.
There you go.
You're a champion, And I teach him, hey, listen, you're a cool kid, man. You're a nice kid. You do jiu-jitsu, you compete, you know, martial arts. Yeah. But that's only for you to know and for self-defense, and we're never too cool for anybody. One of the things that when I was in high school, martial arts taught me that is, in the 12th grade, the end of the 11th grade, I gave the principal a 6-foot trophy. I said, I'm going to compete in the tournament this weekend, and whatever I win, I'm going to give it to you.
Really?
He said, I'll put it, whatever you win, I'm going to put it in my, even if it's last place, he said, I'll put it in my, I said,
wow.
It won't be last place, but So I have this 6-foot trophy, bro, and the principal put it in his office.
Wow.
For everybody to see.
How wonderful is that?
And so he's just a really nice guy and stuff. We kicked it off and stuff. And then he ended up putting me in the newspaper, but this is the end of the 11th grade. Nobody knew I was a martial artist. Nobody knew I was a national champion. I was soon to be a world champion. And so when he put it on the newspaper, bro, everybody found out at the school. So I went from being just this kid that nobody really knew, just my friends, to like everybody knew. So, I had some attention from the ladies and stuff, from the girls there.
What school is this, by the way?
Southgate High School.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. And so, but I remember that made me kind of get popular my senior year, right? But I had my friends, and I had some friends that they weren't the most popular people, just like I wasn't before this thing came out. And I remember thinking, these are still my friends, man. Yes. I'm not going to go. And it's funny how even in high school it happens. Hey, you want to come hang out over here and stuff with the cool kids, right? Right. I was like, I'm good, man. I hang out over there by the basketball court with my friends.
That's right.
The basketball court wasn't the cool spot.
Right.
That was my friends. But martial arts taught me to be comfortable with who I am.
Absolutely.
And to be confident in any situation.
Absolutely.
So those are some of the things I teach my son.
Yeah. It's interesting that you say, don't let anyone take your happiness. Before Isaiah and Elijah get out of the car, I always tell them, or I do my best to tell them as often as possible, that they're co-creators. I always tell, especially Isaiah, I tell him, he's in high school. I always remind him, I said, son, you're a creator. Go and create the day you want. Go and create the day you want. Everything is, begins with your thought process. And I remind him of that. And again, does he or does he not? I don't know. He's 16, Elijah's 14. But I know that these words are seeds that will eventually grow.
Yes.
And for me, now being, as we were talking about earlier, being 54, the thought that I can create my life and the thought that I can create my happiness, second to God, of course, the thought that I can create my prosperity, the thought that I can create my health gives me tremendous comfort and confidence.
Yes.
I believe that so many people right now are living lives that are they feel so hopeless and helpless because they're not in control of their life, right? And so that's what I remind my boys all the time, that they're creators of their life. And whatever they think and whatever they speak is going to manifest. And I think those words, I believe, are very important, as yours are. Don't let anyone steal your happiness. They're things that they become like mantras, almost like affirmations.
Yes.
And next, the boys are thinking about these things, and they penetrate the subconscious mind. And next, you're living accordingly.
That's right. It's true. It's true. It's so powerful. It's even biblical, right?
Absolutely.
The Bible talks about that. One of the things that I find very interesting about you, and it was in one of those talks that I mentioned to you that I went. Somebody invited me to, and I went. And that's when I learned the importance of detoxing your liver.
Yep.
Right? So I want to get into that. Chiropractic work for sure. I visit the chiropractor. I try once a week, but I go every other week.
Wonderful.
You know what I mean? But I really should go every week. But Before we get into the detox and liver, I do want to ask about the chiropractic work. So you're a chiropractor. So tell me a little bit about your story and how you became a chiropractor.
Sure. So I was born and raised in South Central Los Angeles. And when I was super young, 12, 13, 14, and I know it may seem kind of odd, but I would think of what I want to do and what I want to be, and I wanted to be an attorney. We were born and raised in scarcity. I won't say poverty, but definitely scarcity, right? We had food every night, we had a roof over our head, but beyond that, it was very challenging. And so at a very young age, I realized what I didn't want. I didn't want to live in South Central, at least in the area where I lived. It was very bad. I didn't want to live in South Central Los Angeles. I didn't want to have, because I would always hear arguments with my parents, and I knew when the end of the month was, because the arguments were bigger, because it was always because of lack of money. So when I was 14 years old, they had a career day, as I don't know if they still do, but back in the day they'd have career days, and they'd have professionals come to the school, and an attorney was coming, and he showed up, and he was about 15 minutes late. I was front and center. He was 15 minutes late. He was, I'm just telling you, he was like obese. Right. His suit was way too tight. He looked like a mess. He was perspiring. He had flunked the bar exam, I think 4 or 5 times. And I sat there and I thought, if this is my future, like this is not what I want. So I went home a little disappointed. And like about a year later, my mom and my dad had been going to chiropractors all their life. Literally, they've been going to chiropractors for like 50 years. Wow. And they said, we're gonna go to the doctor. I said, oh, I don't want to go to the doctor. They said, no, we're gonna go to the chiropractor. Just come with us and sit in the lobby and we're gonna get adjusted. So I went, and it was in Southgate, in fact, Dr. Raul Moreno. I'll never forget this. And I went and I sat there, and I remember clearly, like I knew nothing about chiropractic, but I would see people walk in, and when they would walk out, physically they were kind of similar, but there was something about their spirit that was different. And patient after patient after patient. And we got back in the car, and I said, I want to make people feel the way he does. Wow. And they're like, but you don't know anything. How old were you? I was 15. Wow. I said, I know, but he was giving, whatever he was doing in there, he was changing them, right? Yeah. So then the summer between my junior and senior year, the whole summer I interned for him. And I would help him with everything. Didn't get paid, but I knew that it was just an internship. And at the end of the internship, he purchased and he gifted me my first philosophy book. And I read it. I didn't understand it, but I read it. Very thick book, and it was a green book. And it was a book written by D.D. Palmer, who was the founder of chiropractic. And I fell in love with the philosophy of chiropractic at a very young age. I went to Cerritos College. I'm sorry, what is that philosophy? Okay, so the philosophy of chiropractic says, so there's a universal premise of chiropractic. And it says, there's a universal intelligence in all animate and inanimate. That means that there's a universal intelligence in all living, like you and I, and non-living objects, giving to it its properties and actions, and thus maintaining it in existence. So what that means is, this drawing, this painting, for it to look and appear this way, there's a molecular movement, right? Yes. For this wall to look like this, there's a molecular movement. Sure. But if it's cold, then this gets cold. If it's hot, then this melts. But you and I, we have an innate intelligence, which means that if I put you in a freezer, you begin to shiver. And then there's vasodilation, because all the blood's gonna come to your organs. So the innate intelligence is to save your life. Right. If you're in Arizona in the middle of summer, you'll perspire to cool you off. So you have an innate intelligence, but these things that aren't alive don't. Right. Everything has a universal intelligence. So the job, from the philosophy perspective, the job of a chiropractor is to adjust people and allow the innate intelligence that runs through the body, that runs through the central nervous system, to heal the body. So as we say in chiropractic, the power that made the body heals the body. The body just needs no interference, right? So our job is to adjust the spine, right? Remove the interference, and allow the body to heal itself. That's the philosophy of chiropractic. To do what it's supposed to do. You don't tell your body when you need to use a restroom. Right. You don't tell your body, oh, I need to drink more water. You don't tell your body, oh, all those things are natural.
Mm-hmm.
So if we just allow the body to function at its best,
right,
then we will most likely be healthier than giving our body things.
yes.
And so at a very young age, I fell in love with philosophy, and I entered the school. I was accepted at 19, graduated at 24, opened our first practice here in Baldwin Park, right down the street.
Nice.
Opened our first practice 29 years ago. Opened our first practice. My wife and I, we were engaged at the time.
Yeah.
And it was beautiful. I mean, at my peak here in Baldwin Park, I was seeing close to 190 patients a day.
Wow.
Yeah, we were rocking and rolling. And then I realized that chiropractors didn't know the philosophy, and they were struggling. And there were great doctors, just didn't know how to explain the philosophy. So my wife and I created a company called Soul to Soul, and we started to teach chiropractors the philosophy of chiropractic and how to build their business. And in the next 3 years, my wife and I, we opened 7 health centers. And then I realized, then I came across my gift, which was speaking. And so then I removed myself from practice, and we started to coach our doctors and expand our practice, and then that led to other things. And so, chiropractic is a way of life. Although I don't practice anymore, haven't practiced in a bit, I adjust every week. I adjust my boys every week. I adjust friends every week. There's always somebody coming by to get adjusted. And for us, chiropractic is a lifelong process.
Yes.
You know, my 3 boys were born at home. They were adjusted within 5 minutes after they were born.
Wow.
All 3 of them. They've never been inoculated. They've never been vaccinated. They've gone to the doctor on very, very rare occasions, but and that doesn't mean that they don't ever get sick.
No.
But what it means is that because we've allowed their immunity to grow, you have a natural immunity.
Yes.
Okay. You just said that your mother is in her 70s.
Yes.
Okay. Do you know your grandmother? Is she still alive?
Yes, she is.
Okay. Where was she born?
Mexico.
Okay. So your grandmother was not vaccinated.
Right.
Because there were no vaccinations back then.
Right.
And she probably has lived a healthier life
Yes.
than most of the people today.
Yes.
So therefore,
My sons aren't either.
okay, so therefore we firmly believe that the body has this infinite wisdom, this innate intelligence.
Yes.
That now of course you have to eat better, you have to rest well, you have to hydrate, you have to have the positive mental attitude, because that stress really deteriorates the body. So you can't just say, okay, we're not gonna do this and we're just gonna live however. No. It's harder to live this way.
Yes.
It's just healthier. It's easier for someone to say, oh, I have a cough, I'm gonna go and take a cough medicine.
Right.
Oh, I'm sneezing, I'm gonna take an antibiotic. That's much easier.
Yes.
And the symptoms go away, but it doesn't mean that we get well, we become well. And as a chiropractor, although I don't practice, but I will always live by the chiropractic philosophy, I firmly believe that the body has this infinite wisdom. And if you take care of the body's gonna take care of itself. Yeah.
I believe that 100%. However, this day and age, those philosophies become more and more controversial these days, right?
Yes.
Like when we mention our kids not being vaccinated, right?
Yeah.
Even that word is a trigger word.
It's
man.
a huge trigger word, yeah.
And my philosophy is, listen, we all have our choice to live our life how we want to.
Absolutely.
Right? So I listen to people like you. I did my own due diligence. I studied and whatnot, and I've never taken a flu shot. I never will. Nothing against people that do. God bless you, right? This is just personal choices.
Right.
Our sons hardly ever get sick. And if they do is something, minor, thank God, right? And so, but of course we watch what we eat. We believe in go outside and get some sun.
Yep.
Get some fresh air.
Yes.
Right? Exercise, eat healthy, right?
Yes.
We don't eat dairy. Well, we eat pizza, but
you're aware of it.
We're aware of it.
That's right. That's right. You're not indulging.
Oh, absolutely not.
Yeah. Right.
So those are some of the things that that we picked up from it, right?
Absolutely.
So as far as chiropractic work is concerned, though, and you kind of answered this question. One of my questions was going to be: does everybody need chiropractic?
Everybody needs chiropractic because from the moment that you're born, childbirth is very, very traumatic. It takes approximately, especially if you're born through cesarean, it takes about 130 pounds of pressure to pull a baby out of birth canal. Okay?
Wow.
Your spine is so delicate. So what happens is in that process, there's a movement in the vertebrae, and it creates a nerve pressure, and it creates a nerve interference. It doesn't mean you have symptoms, okay? Right. It just creates a nerve interference, so you're not in a state of disease, you're in a state of dis-ease. So there's health,
yes.
Then there's dis-ease, then there's disease, then there's symptoms. So healthy person is someone that, like I said earlier, hydrates, sleeps well, has less stress, gets adjusted, does all those things, works out. But then most of us don't do that. So we're in a state of dis-ease.
Right.
That means that you don't have symptoms, you're just not 100%.
Right.
But you don't have symptoms. According to medicine, you're well. Because when you walk into a medical doctor, the first thing they're going to ask you is, how are you doing? What can I help you with? So if you say, well, doc, I feel fine, he's going to say, then there's nothing we can do. But as a chiropractor, we know that you can feel fine and still be in a state of dis-ease.
Right.
So that nerve interference happens at childbirth. Now, they may not have pain, but they're going to express that nerve interference through ear infections, throat infections, tonsils that swell up. They're going to express that nerve interference through ADHD. They're going to express it through just various asthma, allergies. Right. I can't tell you now. And now I'm not saying go to a chiropractor and your allergy is going to go away. I got to make a disclaimer. I'm not saying that. Right. What I'm saying is, if the nervous system is functioning better, you have a better chance of being optimally healthy.
Yes.
The average age of a patient in my office was under 5 years old.
Really?
Because that's what we promoted, family care. So I would adjust kids all day long. And you would get these stories coming back. Oh my goodness, my son has had allergies for 3 years, and this is the first summer that he has no allergies. Oh, you know, she would always get asthmatic attacks. Now she doesn't get asthma. And what would happen? Well, if you remove the nerve interference, the brain communicates to every single cell. You're going to be healthy. The power of the body heals the body. I know it sounds a little folky, a little like folks tale, but that is the reality. Right. You know, if you look at our last 100 years. The average lifespan has continuously decreased and decreased and decreased. If you look at my mom, as we were sharing, my mom just passed away at 92 years old. Thank you. My mother-in-law is living well at 96 years old. Wow. The average lifespan is like 77, 78. So we have to really pay attention at where we're headed and why we're headed that way. And right now, if people are much more aware of all the pesticides and herbicides and all the toxins that are in food to people because of social media, because of the internet. They're reading labels. I mean, gluten now, it's like no one wants to eat gluten now. No one wants to eat dairy, which is wonderful, hard to do, but it's wonderful, you know? So things are changing because, you know, it's been a struggle for a lot of people. Our health, especially in the United States, overall, in general, has deteriorated. Now, I'm not talking about emergency care. You know what I mean? If I break my arm, I'm going to the emergency. If I'm bleeding, I'm going to the emergency, right? But I'm talking about just day to day. You know, you say you're going to turn 40?
Yes.
Okay. So just day to day. I mean, you could feel the way you feel at 50 and at 60 and at 70 if you do certain things, if you take care of yourself. And that's where chiropractic has played such a critical role. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, man. When I started going to a chiropractor, I did the mistake of waiting until I felt the pain.
Yeah.
That's one of the, and I think that's probably what most people do, right?
A lot less now, but yes, I would say 8 out of 10 come in because of pain.
Yeah, and that's when you let it go too long.
Yes.
So, you know, so many years of kickboxing and karate and martial arts and kicking these heavy, dense bags and whatnot, not getting adjusted. Mm-hmm. And then I remember one night being at home with my wife watching TV and my hip was bothering me. I just cannot go to sleep because my hip won't let me sleep. And you know, she wakes up and I tell her, I need to find a chiropractor tomorrow,
Mm-hmm.
no matter what. I don't care about any meetings. I don't care about nothing. And that's very important. And I think people don't realize it. And I think they're starting to realize now more.
Absolutely.
But one thing I mentioned, matter of fact, this morning on my story that I tagged you in, I said, you could take an 80-year-old billionaire that would give all of his money to be healthy.
Absolutely.
You know, you might have a 20-year-old
Mm-hmm.
that is unhealthy. He's healthy, but unhappy because he doesn't have money, blah, blah, blah. You know, there's billionaires that will literally trade places with you.
In a heartbeat.
In a heartbeat.
I mean, look at Steve Jobs. I mean, look at all these people that had all this tremendous wealth and they become sick. You know, I read this book a while ago, about 15 years ago. It's called The Weight of the Nation. So I read it in 2006, 2007.
Okay.
And it said that by 2020, and at that time it seemed so far away.
Yeah.
It said by 2020, 1 out of every 2 American males over 35 will have cancer. One out of every 3 women over 35 will have cancer. They said by 2020, we will be, the United States will be the leading nation in obesity. And the race that will be leading the United States will be the Latino race. So if I go to and I am Latino, okay, but if I go to a Mexican restaurant,
Right.
and next time, I mean, I see you, you know, you like to go and eat well, look around.
Right.
Most people are very, very unhealthy.
Yeah.
So unhealthy, and being just not at I don't want to say at an ideal way, but at a functional way, we've become desensitized to it. And I always give people this example. If a drunk man walks through the doors, you're going to stand up and you're going to say, hey, what's going on?
Yes.
Like, because this is inappropriate.
Right.
If a person who is high walks through the door, you're hey, but now, you know, being obese and overweight, it's just how it is. When that is the precursor to many of these conditions and diseases that are affecting us. So, and that's something that we can take care of. So going back to chiropractic, and I think you're gonna ask me about liver detox, that's something that we can do. It's not easy, but because of our reason, because of our purpose, because of our why, it's so important for us to take care of ourselves.
And talking about obesity, not only that, but it's glamorized now.
Yeah.
Yes, man. I mean, they're making it like a thing, like, oh, don't be ashamed of your body. And listen, okay, I respect don't be ashamed of your body, but let's talk about the health side of it.
That's all it is. That's all it is.
Right? It's like, forget about the way it looks.
Yeah.
If you're happy with the way you look, God bless you.
Absolutely.
But how's your health?
Yes.
You know what I mean? Not only that, like if I look like, let's say I were to get obese, that's going to affect my kids.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to affect the quality of my life and the time I spend with my kids.
Absolutely.
Right? So many things, but it's so weird. Sometimes I look at the way the world is right now, Doc, and I'm like, it's like I'm in the twilight zone. Let's say, for example, somebody was in a coma for 10 years and they woke up out of the coma right now. There's so many things they look at. There's no way this is
happening. And to your point, and again, I'm gonna clarify. There is no judgment here.
Right.
I love everybody, and I believe that if you're doing the best you can, God bless you.
Yes, exactly.
So there is no judgment from appearance.
Right.
As you said, I'm referring to health.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, I'm referring to health.
Yep.
If I'm 5'10", if I weigh 300 pounds, that's not healthy for 5'10" structure. That's all it is.
Yes.
That's all it is. Doesn't mean that I have to be 150 or 170. I'm not talking about a weight. I'm talking about your health. I'm talking about the compressive forces on your joints. Right. I'm talking about the way your endocrine system, your digestive system is working day in and day out. It's just not healthy.
True.
You know what I mean? And so now, if people are content that way, awesome. God bless them, and that's wonderful. But if from a doctor's perspective, that's not going to give you longevity. Right. That's all it is.
100%.
It's not going to give you longevity. And like you said, you know, I when my wife and I had my first son, Fabian, he's 22, so I was 32 years old. Super vibrant, played basketball with him, played baseball with him. I mean, so active, right?
Yes.
And then, so my youngest son is 14, so that's 8 years later. In my mind, my goal was always, no, I don't want to deprive my son from what I gave him. You know, if I gave him all this physical time, well, I want to give all of them the same physical time. I want to be, my goal is to be that grandfather who's running around on the field, catching and playing. But that's my personal goal.
Right.
If someone's goal is to sit on a lounge chair on the sideline, that's cool too.
Right.
As long as that's what they want.
Right.
You know what I mean? As long as that's really what you want, perfect. But I want to be that, 70, 75-year-old that feels good, looks good, and is healthy and is still physically contributing.
Yes. I want the same thing.
Yeah.
Exactly. Even though my kids are young, but one day they'll be fathers. And
That's right.
I want to be able to pick up their kids and, be active. And that's why I also don't train as hard as I used to as far as on the joints with the heavy bags. Right. Now I do more shadow boxing. Now I do different bags that are not because I do feel a little bit on the joints. I go to the chiropractor every other week, right? I get massages once a month.
That's great.
Drink alkaline water and watch my diet and do the best that I can because and I'm always learning. I'm always asking these questions, right? Like we were talking about the detox, which we're gonna get into here in a minute. One thing you brought up earlier that's very important is stress. Obviously, is a big killer, right? And what a powerful thing it is to be positive, right?
Yes. How
the mind has such an effect on your mental health and your stress levels, right? Absolutely. Can you touch on that a little bit?
Absolutely. So, everyone's going to have a level of stress, right?
Yes.
Coming and sitting in traffic, there's a little bit of stress.
Yeah.
Getting your kids off to school, it's a little stressful,
mm-hmm.
right? Doing a podcast, although it's fun and it's exciting, there's a little stress always involved, right? Closing deals is stressful.
Right.
Building your social media awareness, everything's gonna have a little stress. So we as human beings, we're designed to function with momentary stress. And the example I give people is, don't ask me why, but I love watching like National Geographic. I love watching animals in their space and then sometimes, when the hunt is on and the lion is chasing the deer, and it's just such a cool thing, right? And so you see this deer grazing, totally at peace, calm, eating, and then perks up because they hear something. And then like 4 or 5 seconds later, it sees the lion or lioness.
Yes.
And the deer runs, and there's the race.
Right.
And they race for 20, 30, 40 seconds. Well, the lion is huge. Yeah. So the lion gets tired, and the deer goes on. And then about a minute later, you see the deer grazing again, and we're good.
Yeah.
That's normal.
Right. You
can handle that type of stress. I can handle that type of stress, and it's positive. It's normal. It's okay.
Yeah.
It releases some of those, adrenaline, and we're good. But for human beings, we don't have short stress.
Right.
Here's the single mom who has 2 jobs and wakes up every morning knowing that she's not going to make enough money to make ends meet.
Right.
So she has stress all day long. Here's the dad. Here's the chiropractor who may be struggling, who maybe 10 years ago was seeing 80 patients a day. Now they're seeing 25 patients a day.
Yeah. And
they still have a beautiful office. They still have an office manager and 2 assistants. And they're in their office thinking, man, how am I going to pull this off? Here's a college student, a university student who is on their senior year. They're working on their master's, but what they're getting their master's in, that area, that space, that vertical just isn't existent anymore. Mm-hmm. So now we're dealing with stress all day long.
It's like you're sprinting all day.
It's like you're sprinting all day long, and the body was never ever created for that. So when that happens, your body and my body, we're made up of chemistry. There's good chemistry and there's bad chemistry. The good chemistry is what you release when you're laughing, when you're meditating, when you're sleeping, when you're in love, when you close a great deal, right? So that is when you hit a home run or a touchdown, that is the endorphins, the dopamine, the serotonin, the oxytocin. Those are good chemistry.
Yes.
That's the success chemistry. Then you have the bad chemistry, the cortisol, the epinephrine, norepinephrine, the adrenaline, and it just begins to really hurt our body. Let me give you a perfect example, because we were talking about weight a little while ago. Here's a person who says, okay, it's 2023, I'm gonna lose weight. Mm-hmm. And they're doing their best, but they're thinking too much about it. Right. So it becomes negative, becomes stressful.
Got it.
They release cortisol, and cortisol slows down your fat metabolism.
Wow.
You've heard the story. So they do this for like 2 months and they lose like 4 pounds.
Right.
And they're like, forget it. And then they go on an eating binge for like 2-3 weeks, and then they're miserable again, right? Because of that stress. We don't function with prolonged stress. So that is one thing. That is why, whether you call it positive mental attitude, or you call it, neuroplasticity or epigenetics or motivation, inspiration, whatever it is, but you have to be able to regenerate your mind. For me, I do something that's called MVP, and I've been doing this for many years, and I teach this to people, and that's meditate, visualize, and pray. And I do this every single day, 7 days a week. As soon as I wake up, as soon as you wake up, you're going to have a moment where you're going to dictate how your day is going to be. Robin Sharma says, if you win the morning, you win the day.
That's good.
Have you had a bad morning and that produces a bad day?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so have I. But we can do things to win the morning. The first thing we can do is very, very simple. And it sounds so old school, but it works so well. Get a 3x5 card and write out your personal 10 commandments. What are you not willing to negotiate?
Right.
Okay. I'm just giving examples. Gratitude.
Okay.
First thing is gratitude. I'm not going to negotiate my gratitude. Love. I'm not going to negotiate the love for God and love for my family. Ambition. I'm not going to negotiate that I'm going to progress every single day. Health. I'm not going to negotiate that I'm not going to go to. I'm going to do something towards my health.
That's good.
Hydrate, rest, read, all these things. And then you read this 10 times. It'll take about 3 minutes. But what you're doing is you are programming your mind instead of allowing your mind to just kind of just deviate to where it wants to go, because most of us, not you, not people like you, but the general majority, they have an undisciplined mind.
Right.
So the minute they wake up, they think about the things they didn't do yesterday. Right. They think about the things they didn't accomplish yesterday. They think about the calls they didn't make yesterday. So now Joe Dispenza says, your life will be defined by a memory of the past or a vision of the future. And if you're living by the memory of the past, then you're not creating anything new. Right. So if you do this every single morning, and then you give yourself space, 10, 15, 20 minutes, to meditate. And when I say meditate, I don't mean you have to light incense and burn candles. Just find a space and just practice on clearing your mind. Then you visualize what you want, and then you give it to Jesus. Right. You do that, your stress will decrease.
Wow. That's so powerful, man. First of all, I often talk about, one training may not make sense, something you listen may not make sense. Then you keep doing the personal growth, then something you heard a year later makes what you heard a year ago make sense, right? So right now, what you said that Joe Spencer said, you're either moved by something from your past or a vision from the future.
Your life will be defined by either a memory of the past or a vision of the future.
Wow.
And you and I experienced this. Where were you born?
Mexico.
Would you say your life today is better than your life as a child?
Big time, yeah.
So you had to do this. And for people like you, it may come innately. It may come kind of naturally. For most people, it doesn't. Right. And that's why, and I always say this, and I'm just so grateful that I came across this man when I was 24 years old, who mentored me for 19 years. He passed away last year. Both of my mentors passed away last year.
Wow.
And because if he did one thing, he taught me how to think for myself. And that's the power that
we all need. A lot of people don't do these days, man.
Very few do, and I understand, because they're in the rat race. They're trying to, but Robin Sharma says, you may be winning the rat race, but you're still running like a rat. You know what I mean? So it's just like, it's, or I think it was Randy Gage. You want to get out of that, and it's hard though. It's hard. People may be listening right now and they may be thinking, oh yeah, but you guys have been entrepreneurs for a while. No, they're every day you wake up and every day you go to battle. Yep. Every day you face that challenge. I could easily go home, open a box of Twinkies, and I would love that. Open a box of Twinkies, put on Netflix, and who would? I mean, I would love. Exactly. But I have to be conscious of where do I want to be a year from now? Where do I want to be 2 years? Where do I want to be 5 years? And now, to me, my priorities are to be a great husband, be a great father. What type of example am I giving? You're Maximus and the Alexander the Great. One day they will look at you and they will say, did he do what he said he was going to do?
Right.
And that's where you become the hero or you're not. So
yeah, it's true. It's as far as the mind is concerned, right? It's like Hakuna Matata. you remember the Lion King?
I love that.
It means no worries, man. Because listen, worrying is like a rocking chair. Gives you something to do, but gets you nowhere, right? So I remember one time this guy, he tells me on my team, right? He says, JC, how is it, bro, that you're always so calm and you got so many things going on and you're running your businesses and stuff and you're so calm? I said, listen, I learned to be that way when I realized A.O. Williams says this, all you can do is all you can do. If I give it all I can do and I'm getting better, I'm constantly getting better, but if I put worry and I focus on worry, it's not going to make things better. It's going to make things worse. It's going to make things worse for me and my health. It's also going to make things worse here. You got to stay cool and calm under pressure. And one thing that you mentioned about, Joe's quote, I say it like this: winners have a habit of pre-playing their future wins and successes.
Absolutely.
Losers tend to replay their past failures and setbacks.
That's great.
You understand what I'm saying?
100%.
I pre-play and then I started realizing you got to get excited about what's going to happen before it gets happened, as if it already happened.
Yes.
And we used to do that as kids, right? When we used to daydream.
Yes.
And now people don't daydream. They don't even have an imagination. A lot of people, right? Unfortunately.
Right.
And so I heard David Emenite say that. He says, pre-play your future wins and successes instead of replaying your past failures. Yes, okay, they're past failures. What can I learn from it? But I'm gone, man. It's a new me. And one thing that Jay Nolan said that was very powerful at an event that we had last year, he said at a training, he says, I came here not to do a training, but to conduct a funeral for the old you. Right? Like, and the new you right now is born and stuff. And that got me chills. I heard him say that 10 years ago. And it still gives me chills. I heard him say it a lot of times.
I love that.
And that kind of ties into the philosophy of, hey man, the past, and even what I'm going through. Okay, Winston Churchill says, if you're going through hell, keep going. Right?
Why are you going to stop there?
Well, you stop there. Oh man, it sucks here. Well, keep going, bro. Right?
That's right.
No, but yeah, it's so true. And yes, I know that the stress causes all of these things that you mentioned in the body. It's so powerful, that positive. That's why so many books talk about having an attitude of gratitude.
Absolutely.
Having a positive mental state. And it's not for nothing. It's so incredibly important. And I realized that through a lot of trainings, but one book that helped me out a lot was The Science of Getting Rich. That book helped me out a lot with that.
Yeah. Well, and as I said earlier, you have a lot of things that come to you naturally, which is extraordinary. Just add a little science to what you just said. So the mind is very, very powerful. The mind may be the most powerful muscle, the most powerful organ in the world. But there's one thing that the mind cannot do. And if people are listening or watching, hopefully you capture this one thing. The mind cannot differentiate reality from fantasy.
Right.
Okay. And I know people have heard that before, but if you really delve into that, it can change your life.
Yes.
So, and it doesn't matter how young or old you are. I don't watch scary movies, right? This is not something that we do. But I did watch The Exorcist when I was 9 years old.
Yeah.
Okay. And I was scared to death. It was terrible.
Right.
Terrible. Okay.
Yeah.
So here we are 30 years later. I'm married. I have a child. I'm getting ready to go to the office. And I'm tying my shoes. The TV is on. And they digitized The Exorcist. And that song came on.
Oh, wow.
You know that eerie song?
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm tying my shoes. And I promise you, I felt like the hair on the back of my neck come on. I'm like, oh, what is that? And I felt the same fearful sensation as I was 9, because the mind doesn't know. So since the mind doesn't know, if you pre-play, and I don't know the correct words you use, but they were so powerful, but if you pre-play your successes, Now their mind says, oh, I've done this podcast already.
Right.
I just have to do it again.
Yeah.
Your stress decreases.
Right.
And there's a lot to be said with the mind and the body, because it's called psychosomatic. You see it all the time. You can make yourself sick by thinking of bad things, but equally, you can make yourself successful by thinking of positive things. It sounds so easy, but as our dear friend Jim Rohn would always say, what is easy to do?
It's easy not to do.
It's easy not to do. And that's why we have to create these rituals and habits of writing things down, of meditating, creating that routine, because it's easy not to do that. Right. It's easy to get up, go to the restroom, and get on your phone. Mm-hmm. That's the easiest thing. Right. It's easy to put on music instead of putting on a podcast in the car. It's easier it's easier. But if we create these rituals and create these habits, that's gonna give us more of what we want in life.
Powerful. Yeah, that's why the putting on the podcast, personal growth, we used to say Drive Time University, right? Drive Time University. Don't listen to music anymore. I remember when I started, you mentioned Jim Rohn. 2001, 2x2.net.
Wow.
I think it was Jose Lucero. I don't know if you remember Jose Lucero. He was a part of the company, and at a training they said, this Jim Rohn CD here is the only thing you should be listening to for the next 30 days. No radio, no nothing. You listen to this and only this for the next 30 days. I swear, bro, I probably listened to it 20 or 30 times all the way through. The Building Your Network Marketing Business by Jim Rohn. And he talks about a lot of these. I wouldn't sign up for that class, right? And all these, and then I swear, if it wasn't for that audio, that CD, I would not have stuck it out in network marketing.
Yeah.
And it changed my philosophy. There's something inside me that changed, and I said, oh, and I feel like I would have quit the industry, and I probably wouldn't have been an entrepreneur. Maybe I would, but I know that it had a tremendous impact on me. So
yeah, absolutely. Well, in life is all about our philosophy. Yeah, that's what life is. That's I clearly remember when I earned my first year that I earned 7 figures. Right, I was 27 years old, and I called my mentor and I said, I did it. Like I earned $1 million. I was in chiropractic, and he says, yes, you did it. Like, well, of course, that's the purpose of this, right? And I said, what happened? Like, what did you give me? What did you take from me? What did you change in me? He said, I gave you a new philosophy. I said, what do you mean? He said, sick people are sick because they always think of diseases. He says, healthy people are healthy not because they're never sick, but because they never think about their pathologies or conditions. He says, poor people are poor because they're always declaring poverty, and wealthy people are wealthy because they're always thinking about prosperity. He says, it's your philosophy. Now you have learned how to create the thoughts that you want. And if you meditate on those thoughts, they begin to manifest. and I know it sounds kind of hokey, right?
Right.
But if you read the biographies of these great people, Martin Luther King's, they just passed, right? And he's one of my heroes. When you read his biography and how he would stay up to all hours of the night just reading about how to change a nation, how to change a culture, how to lead a group of people, then you understand the message he gave at the steps of the Lincoln Monument. It wasn't an accident. Right. It was all premeditated. When you hear Muhammad Ali, they interviewed Muhammad Ali, and they said, why would you say, I'm the greatest? He says, because I was convincing myself.
Yes.
I wasn't saying it to try to put fear in my opponent. I was saying it so I can believe me.
Yes.
Most people don't, especially nowadays. If you get someone on social media who says, I'm the greatest, they get all these comments, oh, you're so arrogant, you're so... No, I'm just trying to help myself out.
Yeah. It's true.
Now, your liver is responsible directly and indirectly for 80% of all the chemistry in your body comes from the liver. Wow. So one is your estrogen. Okay, both men and women have estrogen, just like men and women have testosterone. Okay. Obviously, women have more estrogen, men have more testosterone. But when there's a high level of estrogen in the body, your estrogen begins to compete against your thyroid hormone coming from your thyroid gland. And so the thyroid doesn't function the way it's supposed to. So now we have people that are eating little and becoming bigger. We have people that sleep a lot and wake up tired. the skin, the nails, they just don't look healthy anymore. They go to the doctor. The doctor says, oh, you have a hypothyroid problem. The last clinical investigations, they say that maybe you have a thyroid issue, but it's secondary to a toxic liver.
Wow.
So if we detoxify our liver and restore the proper chemistry, the proper hormonal chemistry between the testosterone and estrogen, then your endocrine system will begin to function better, and now you become healthier. When your liver is toxic, it increases cortisol. And as I said earlier, cortisol, high cortisol decreases fat metabolism. High toxicity in the body decreases fat metabolism. So by detoxifying your liver, not only will you be healthy, but you'll also begin to change your body mass and body fat. And like you were saying earlier, some people, like you're a lean guy. You may not want to lose 30 pounds, but you want to be healthier.
Yes.
Yeah. So detoxifying your liver isn't just because I want to lose weight. Yes, it does promote weight loss, but it wants to put your body into a calorie burning machine. And so when you eat, the body is going to absorb the nutrients better and remove the waste better. So detoxifying the liver is quintessential. It's so essential. Everyone should detox once or twice a year.
Once or twice a year?
Once or twice a year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Most people go through their whole life and they never do that.
That's right.
And they should do it once or twice a year.
If they want to be optimally healthy.
Yes. Wow, that's so powerful.
Mm-hmm.
And so tell me about, with your company, there's you guys have a program.
Yeah.
For example, I turn 40 next month, a month from now, right?
Okay.
February 18th. And I want to, when I turn 40, that's why I'm working out more often now. I always work out every single week, but I'm working out more often and, doing more cardio and watching my diet more. So I want to get to 40 and I want to show pictures from 40 and 20 and compare the two.
Okay.
And I want to be in better shape at 40 than I was at 20. And at 20, mind you, I just won a world title. I was working out a bunch. So, but I want to put on some muscle. So I want to kind of lose 8 to 10 pounds of fat, replace them with muscle. Mm-hmm. So not really drop weight, but
No.
So now that you're saying that, I'm definitely going to do the liver detox. 100% I'm doing it. Would you recommend that I do it now that I'm trying to put on some muscle, or should I wait till I put on this muscle and do it?
Yeah, the liver detox is a 30-day program, and so it's usually going to either cause a weight loss or maintain weight. But in your situation, for these next 30 days, you're going to probably intake a little bit more protein than that 30 days would allow. Right. So I would say, do these next 30 days. Do the workout that you're going to do, and also 4 or 5 days out of the month we're fasting. So it may make it kind of hard for people to have these amazing workouts on a fasted state, right?
For sure.
So, but I would definitely recommend it that after you do this and you reward yourself with an amazing 40-year-old dinner, then start the detox after
That's
that.
what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So the detox is 30 days,
It's a 30-day
and when you
detox.
say fasting for 4 or 5 days, is that all day?
It's 4 days over the next 30 days. Yes, there'll be now. Fasting is vital. Fasting is so important. David Beckham, he fasts. David Beckham, Tom Brady, they fast every Monday. So they'll have a Sunday night dinner, 5, 6 in the afternoon, and their next meal is until Tuesday breakfast.
Wow.
And it's so. There's studies after studies that talk about how fasting increases powerful chemical. There's a chemical in your body called BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, and that is the chemistry. That's like the power chemical in your body that really helps the brain function better, helps the digestive function better. But it's released when you're in a fasted state.
Yes.
Right. So fasting once or twice or 3 times a month is one of the best things you can do. Think about it this way: you work out. If someone tell you, okay, we're gonna work out your chest 2 times a week, you think, okay, we can do that. 3 times a week, you're gonna work it out every day. You would say, no, because it's not gonna grow.
Right.
Well, your digestive system is muscle. Your stomach is a muscle.
Wow.
So we're using this all day long. So giving that a break is going to help our overall wellness. So over 30 days, there's about 3 or 4 days that they fast, and but it feels wonderful.
Yeah,
it feels great.
Yeah, and I know I've seen some of the testimonies. Some of the testimonies that you guys show when people do that fasting, man. I mean, the things that come out of people's
Crazy.
bodies
Yes.
are crazy, man.
Yes.
What's the craziest thing you've seen?
Yeah. So when you do the detox, your liver is going to evacuate toxicity, and it's encapsulated as stones. So you get stones that come out that are yellow, green, brown, and black. The darker the stone, the longer you've been toxic. So if my son Fabian detoxifies, who's 22, his stones are usually like a yellow or lighter green. The stones can vary from a pea size to the size of a quarter.
Wow.
There's no pain at all, and you can see them because like fecal material is dense, so it falls down the toilet. This isn't, so it floats. And I've had people that have picked up 100, 200 stones in one bowel movement.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's crazy. And the crazy thought is to think that that's in your body right now.
Right.
Yeah. So I mean, there's so many reasons. In 1972, there was a study that indicated that the average male is carrying 6 pounds of impacted fecal material in their large intestine.
Wow.
6 pounds. In 2012, the average male is carrying 21 pounds of impacted fecal material.
Dang.
So it's imperative that we detoxify. Yeah.
Dude, I'm going through this 30 days, and then the first thing I'm gonna do right after is I'm gonna
That's right. We should do like a detox challenge.
Yeah, I know.
Do a little challenge.
Absolutely, bro.
Yeah.
Let's do it because I see the importance of it, and again, the older I get, and I feel great, right?
And you're not old. 40 is super young.
40 is not old. I don't.
40 is super young.
Right. Even I think right now 60 is a new 40.
Yeah, that's right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So, but as far as that's concerned, I have we have our 2 kids, and I want to be healthy. I want to have this energy for a long time. It's not about me only. It's not just about my health. It's about other people. So
yes.
And not only that, I mean, I read a quote or a study, something that the WHO or whoever's behind the jabs made. I don't know how many billions of dollars. Not a single dollar was spent to show people how to be healthier. And that just goes to show of where we are. And most people are just not putting enough focus on this. That's why I said, man, we could talk all day long about business, but you're a Renaissance man, bro. You know so much about so many things. And so I said, some of the conversations that you and I have had off camera, I'm like, we got to put this on the podcast because people need to know this information. And my whole thing with the podcast is bring value.
Absolutely.
Bring value.
Do.
Yeah, thank you. What are some parting thoughts on the health side that you could give people that they could start doing right now to just be healthy?
Absolutely. The first thing would be, if you really want to get on track to be healthy, one of the most important elements is proper sleep. Okay. Now, unfortunately, most people are not having proper sleep because they are on their cell phone. They're on social media.
Yeah.
They're watching Netflix. Especially, we've just really come out of COVID. COVID changed our daily habits, right? So, I mean, people probably haven't seen as many movies as they've seen in the last 2 to 3 years.
Yeah.
So what happens is this: in your sleep patterns, there is a chemical in your body called melatonin. Okay. Now, your melatonin and my melatonin is going to be secreted probably between 8:30 to 9:30. Everybody's does. Okay. And that means that as the melatonin is being secreted, the melatonin reacts to the light in the room. So if I keep this room lit, I'm gonna decrease my melatonin. So you can fall asleep, but you'll wake up in an hour, knock out, then you wake up another hour because the melatonin isn't high enough. The melatonin reacts to darkness.
Wow.
Okay. So if the melatonin begins to be secreted, or peak secretion at about 9:30, 8:30, 9:30, and you turn off all the lights and you rest. You rest your mind. You go into prayer, you go in meditation, you fall asleep at about 10. You're gonna fall into a very, very deep sleep where you can sleep 6 or 7 hours and wake up and you're completely rejuvenated. Wow. But that's not the case in most people.
Right.
Most people will be on their phone, and that blue light is telling your mind, is telling your brain, your limbic lobe, to decrease the melatonin. So now you just get tired at about 11:30. Many people will go from their phone, boom, turn off the light. Your brain is still running.
Damn.
Your brain is still active, right? So you end up falling asleep at about midnight, kind of tossing and turning, because throughout the day we create thoughts. In the evening we organize the thoughts. While we're asleep, we're organizing thoughts. So it's organizing the thoughts that you just saw on Instagram, on TikTok. You just saw a guy beat up a girl, that's a thought. You just saw a man burglarize a diamond shop, that's a thought. So now you have all these terrible random thoughts in your mind because you were on social media, or you saw like a thriller movie and it ended up where the girl died. And so let's sleep. So number one, I would say get better sleep and prepare for your sleep. Like an hour prior to sleep, get off your social media, get off technology, and read a book. I know it's kind of old school, but open a book and read it for about 30 minutes.
Yes.
And then 30 minutes prior to the time that you want to go to bed, really just turn everything off and just sit and practice breathing. I do something that's called the Silva method of breathing, which is 6-4-8. 6-4-8. You breathe in for 6 seconds, you hold for 4, and you breathe out for 8. You breathe in for 6. At the first 2, 3, 4, 5 times, it feels kind of uncomfortable. And then you just feel your body just kind of relax. And next you know, it becomes just like a little mantra. And next you know, you're out and you're in a deep sleep.
Wow.
Number 2, as soon as you wake up, go to that 3x5 card. Don't let your mind go into yesterday. Go into that 3x5 card. And I know it may sound kind of interesting, but meditation changed my life. Meditation changed my life. About 11 years ago, I had a 2-month bout of anxiety, and it wasn't terrible, but it was terrible to me. It wasn't terrible because I've seen anxiety in people that's terrible, but to me, I'm Mr. Positive, Mr. Self-control. I'm like, what in the world is going on? And a dear friend of mine taught me to meditate, and I've meditated for 11 years, and it has changed my mind. It changed my life. It's given me a different perspective. It's introduced more patience, more awareness, more self-discipline. So I encourage people to do that. And if
you think that the meditation helped you with the anxiety?
100, like hands down 100%.
Wow.
Hands down 100%. Yeah.
You're gonna get people reaching out to you just for that right there, bro.
Yeah, hands down 100%. You with someone in that situation, they're either gonna find a way to control their body, or they're gonna take substances to control the body. Those are your 2 options. There's nothing in the middle. And for me, it made me understand myself a little bit more, and it made me be more compassionate towards people. Sometimes I don't want to be, but like just about anxiety. Sometimes people think, oh, just snap out of it. You can't. It's not something that you can snap out of, because it's layers and layers and layers of embedded thoughts. And once you, Henry David Thoreau said, he says, once you uncover the layers of fear, all you find is fear being afraid of itself. Once you learn and become comfortable to managing your thoughts, man, you're a powerful person. So those are things that we can do to be healthy.
Wow, that's powerful. Those are some deep thoughts and some deep advice that you're giving. I mean, that's powerful.
Well, it helped me. So
I'm gonna do what you're saying. Definitely. Sometimes I'm brushing my teeth and I got something in the background. Usually I watch like MMA news. I don't really like to put. Yeah, I don't like to put negative thoughts. Yeah. I don't watch horror movies, scary movies, none of that. Yeah. I don't like to put those images, right? I watch stuff that, news, because the only sports I follow are combat sports. So I watch MMA news a lot. That's like the number one thing I watch on YouTube, right? And so I do watch like Bible prophecy stuff, so that can be scary. So maybe I should stop doing that late at night.
Oh, do it during the day. Yeah,
during the day.
Do it during the day, and when you're at lunch break, and don't do it at nighttime right before you go to bed. Right. So you think the world's ending.
Very good tip. Exactly. Yeah. No, but it's very interesting. So let's switch gears now. Okay, health and wealth is what I want to talk about here today. You do both very well. So there's a lot of entrepreneurs that watch this, so we understand that, hey, put your health first, right? That's the most important thing, in my opinion, because all the money in the world is irrelevant if you don't got your health, right?
Mm-hmm.
What are some tips that you could give somebody, number one, to start building wealth, and those people that already maybe have a successful business, cash flow coming in, some advice for them as well, how to build wealth?
Sure. Just a few things. The first thing is you have to have a burning desire for what you want. You have to have a sense of clarity, right? I remember one of my friends, he said, John DeMartini, he said, the vitality of your life is directly proportional to the vividness of your vision. The vitality, the energy of your life is directly proportional to the clarity of your vision. So whatever it is that you're pursuing, whatever level of income that you're pursuing, whether it's $100,000 a year, $100,000 a month, $100,000 a week, I want people to understand that the only limitation we have is our perception. To the universe, whether you make 100 grand in a day or in a year, it's irrelevant.
Wow.
It's irrelevant, right? The law of abundance, it's irrelevant.
Mm-hmm.
So we're the only ones that trip ourselves up. But whatever that is for that individual, make sure that there's a burning desire associated with that. Make sure that they're very, very, very clear with exactly what they want. Make sure that they've put a date on when they want to have it, and make sure that they have asked themselves what they're willing to do to exchange for it. Okay, so let me give you something that we can do that anyone can apply to help themselves build wealth. And when I say wealth, that doesn't mean millions, just wealth, whatever it means to people.
Yes.
There's 5 questions. 5 questions that I ask myself every single morning. What do I want? Okay. Why do I want it? What do I have to do to get it? Why don't I have it? And how will I feel when I get it? So what do I want? That talks about vision.
Right.
Okay. What do I want? Right now, my wife and I, we are in supernatural prayer that by the end of this year, our goal is to earn $1 million a month. That's our goal.
Wow.
And we repeat it every single day, multiple times a day. We write it out. It's a mantra. My boys say it. So what do we want? Why do we want?
Sorry, how does a mantra go?
A mantra can be as easy as here. Let me give you a simple mantra: $1 million a month. $1 million a month. $1 million a month. You say it so frequently that it goes from your cerebral cortex, your frontal lobe, is very lazy. It doesn't want to keep things here. Your hard drive is your subconscious, your cerebellum.
Right.
So if you repeat it enough, your cerebral cortex says, man, this guy's crazy. I'm just going to push it into my subconscious because I don't want to keep thinking about it. I'm going to store it back here.
Wow.
Repetition, hypnosis are the 2 ways that we push things from your frontal lobe into your subconscious mind. And since I'm not a hypnotherapist, but I can repeat it. So repeat it over and over and over and over. Repetition is the mother of skill and success.
Yes.
Over. So what do I want? Okay. Why do I want it? Because I want to be able to help people understand the power of leadership. I want to be able to have events at no charge with 10, 20,000 people for a weekend and really just delve into their thought process and teach them how to change their thoughts. If they change their thoughts, they change their behaviors. If they change their behaviors, they change their choices. If they change their choices, they change their experiences. And if they change their experiences, they change their emotions. And the emotions come back and fuel your thoughts. Okay, that's the transformational formula.
Yes.
So we want to be able to create homes for the less privileged. We have all these beautiful thoughts and desires that we want. So that's why,
Yes.
So we want this for this. Now, what do I have to do to get it? Well, I have to do all the things that I'm telling you right
Yes.
now. Okay, now here's a pivotal question. Why don't I have it? Now I have to take personal inventory on my shortcomings.
Yes.
Maybe I should be waking up a little early.
That's a great question.
Maybe I don't need to play Texas Hold'em 3 days a week. You know what I mean? Whatever that may be. You know what I mean?
Right.
Maybe I could, instead of an hour break of lunch, maybe I take that hour, or maybe I eat, but I also, put on a video, or maybe I start a podcast, or maybe I'm more intentional with my social media. Why don't I have it? Maybe I haven't been intentional with myself. But that has to be a real, you have to have a come to Jesus with yourself.
Yes.
And then your last thing is, how will you feel when you accomplish that? How would I feel if I'm making $1 million a month, and I know some of you may be listening thinking, I make more than that, whatever it is to the individual, whatever that is, right? And we're talking about wealth, so I put a number on it.
Yes.
Man, I feel so excited. So I need to harness those feelings right now because again, the mind doesn't know. So I need to feel excited. I need to speak with enthusiasm. I need to be grateful. I need to look at the best in people. So because that's what I would be doing. So I do that now. Those are the 5 questions that would help anybody increase their wealth.
That's powerful. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta tell you, man, those are some nice goals, bro. Look, I'm gonna ask you now a question from a biblical point of view on the wealth. I don't know, like 3 years ago is when I started having internal challenges as far as the money that I make. Almost like, and I've had this conversation with a couple of mentors, and I like your take on this. Almost like a feeling of guilt, bro. Because I asked myself, am I doing this for my ego, or am I doing this, because the Bible could be interpreted in different ways, right? Like in abundance and making a lot of money is perfectly fine. Or some people also interpret it in a bad way, like, hey, like the whole a rich man through the eye of a needle verse, right? What would you say to, this is a personal question, I'm asking you on camera right now. This is some of the things that, and I do well financially, right? And I've got some big goals as well, but this is a challenge that I have. So what advice would you give me?
For someone that feels bad for making a lot of money.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sometimes I feel that way.
Yeah. So, a part of it, and I believe that there's just levels, there's phases, just like when you go to high school, you're a freshman and a sophomore and a junior and a senior. First and foremost, I believe that we should understand that God has created us for abundance. It doesn't mean that everyone's going to be a millionaire. That's not what that means. It just means that God has never created us to suffer. Suffer is a decision by man. And most people suffer because they're trying to hold on to attachments that we're not supposed to, right? So do I enjoy a beautiful home? Yes, I do. Yeah. Do I enjoy a luxurious car? Yes, I do. But I don't find my identity in a beautiful home and a luxurious car, right? Yes. I would be who I am if I didn't have those things. But I like those things, right? Sure. So I think the first thing is having an understanding and having a belief that you were created to manifest abundance in your life, for one. If the belief isn't deep, because there's something called shadow beliefs, right? Because I did feel the way you felt a while back, because for my first 25 years, I lived in scarcity. Those scarcity created shadow beliefs, which are deep shadow beliefs inside. And things that I don't consciously think about, but they make me feel a certain way. And I remember when I started making money when I was 27, 28, 29 years old, I felt uncomfortable. I would ask myself, well, I remember back in the day, my goal was to buy a Lexus, right? And I'm like, but do I need a Lexus, right? But need comes from scarcity, right? Yeah. Should, need, want, it comes from scarcity. Choice, love comes from abundance. So I would catch myself thinking scarce, which, as my mentor explained to me, you're still removing layers of that scarcity because it's been deeply embedded, and I understand that. So for me, my feeling of being uncomfortable came from, one, still removing that scarcity, and two, what was my intention? Right? Well, what was my intention? As I shared with you earlier, we had the honor of taking care of my mom for 20 years. Yes. We have the privilege of taking care of my mother-in-law for 24, 25 years. There's never a time when somebody isn't at our home or hasn't crashed at our home for months, so I understand that God has blessed us so we can bless other people. So we use our prosperity to help people. Yes. We use our prosperity to help the youth. I mean, we're huge in football and youth football, so we use our prosperity for that. So with those two things, if your intention is aligned with your prosperity and your belief is aligned with your abundance, it's going to eventually allow us to feel better. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But it could be some some very, very deeply unconscious connection that we still have. You know, sometimes, you know, it was my wife's birthday, and we don't celebrate birthdays, we celebrate birth weeks, right? So and then right before that was my son. So it was like 12 days of almost going out every day. That's all right. Yeah. You know what I mean? I'm okay with that. 20 years ago, maybe I would have been okay with that. But, you know, like, as you know, in life, we don't get what we need, we get what we deserve. Right. And more importantly, we get who we are. So I have to always remind myself that, man, God created me for greatness. God created me for abundance. And that is and shall be part of my life. So those type of thoughts are what.
No, I like it. And I can relate to you in that sense too, that I don't want the money for my ego, or it doesn't identify me, and I do help others. I bless others. Right. And I often say we're blessed to bless others.
That's right.
And I see that that's what you do and stuff. And so there was a time in my life where it did feed my ego a lot. Absolutely. And it was selfish reasons and stuff. So
and that's the phase that we go through.
Those are phases, yeah. And so and one thing I learned that's very true when they say if you don't humble yourself, the Creator will humble you. and he humbled me big time.
He whispers, and if you don't pay attention, he'll start yelling.
That's right. That's right. So no, that's very powerful. And I thank you for sharing that with me, because it does shed some light on some of this. Sure. I don't feel it all the time, but I feel it sometimes.
Well, back in the day when I had first met you, and I was we had all purchased Lamborghinis. Yeah. Every day I'd get in a Lamborghini, I feel terribly uncomfortable. Yeah. Every day. I'm sure if I buy a Lamborghini now, I wouldn't, right? But back then it just felt like, what am I doing here? You know, so, because it was almost as if my outside game was ahead of my internal programming.
Yes.
You know, so I was driving it and living it, but my mind hadn't caught up yet. Yeah. So that's why, like Brian Tracy says, you have to learn to earn, right? The average lotto winner 5 years later is more in debt than before they won the lottery, because they never learned that part.
Yes. You got to be a millionaire up here first.
Absolutely. Yes. That's all mindset.
What a powerful podcast. How can people find you on social media and follow you, brother?
Sure, they can follow me on Facebook, Luis Arriaza, on Instagram, Dr. Luis Arriaza, on TikTok, on Twitter. Yeah, Dr. Luis Arriaza. Good. LuisArriaza.
Yeah, and we're going to definitely link it here in the video. Thank you so much for coming out on the podcast, bro. Once again, always learn so much. And here's the thing, yours are some of the videos that I watched of our interviews, especially. Again, because there's so much to learn, right? I'm going to be watching this one with a notepad, because, you know, there's a bunch of things that you said. One of them is the one to go to sleep and stuff, and, you know, the creating wealth and whatnot. And so, super powerful. And again, my friend, I appreciate you for coming on the podcast.
Thank you, man. And I know that you have a lot of people that you could have, and a lot of guests that would love to be on it. So it's always an honor. And if you do this once a week, once a month, once a year, I'm here.
Thank you, my brother. Appreciate it. I know that people would appreciate it too. All right. Thanks, bro. All right, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode of the Driven Not Given podcast. Make sure you guys like, comment, and make sure you guys follow Dr. Luis. And with that being said, I'll see you guys at the top or from the top. Take care.